You're watching the Grim Tapes. If you enjoy eerie stories, haunting visuals, and a touch of the unknown, like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. New horrors drop weekly. And without further delay, let's jump into these 3 missing and mysterious cases.
In 1969, a 6-year-old boy vanished into thin air while playing hide and seek in the middle of the day, just a few feet from his father. There were no screams, no signs of struggle. He was there, and then he wasn't. So how does a child just disappear in front of everyone? And why, after more than 50 years, do some people believe there's more to this story than anyone is saying? This is the real-life, unsolved case of Dennis Martin, and it's one of the most disturbing missing 411 cases ever recorded. It was Father's Day weekend, June 14th, 1969. Dennis's family, his father, grandfather, and older brother, had taken a weekend trip to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park near the Tennessee-North Carolina border. They hiked to a grassy clearing called Spence Field, a scenic spot surrounded by forest, known for its panoramic views and wide-open spaces. That afternoon, Dennis and a few other boys, including his brother, decided to play a prank on the adults. They'd split up, hide behind some bushes, then all jump out and scare the parents. Dennis ran into the tree line to find a hiding spot. Less than 5 minutes later, the other boys jumped out laughing, but Dennis wasn't with them. His father, William, immediately noticed. He called for Dennis over and over. Nothing. He sprinted into the woods, no more than 50 feet from where Dennis had last been seen. But Dennis was gone. How can a child vanish in seconds, in broad daylight, with adults only feet away? That question triggered one of the largest search efforts in U.S. park history. Within hours, rangers, volunteers, dogs, helicopters, and even the Green Berets were crawling through the Smokies. Over 2,400 people joined the search. But even with all that manpower, they found nothing. No clothing, no footprints, no torn fabric, not a single shred of evidence. Then, things got weirder. About 2 miles away, on the same day Dennis disappeared, another family hiking in the area, the Key family, reported hearing a loud, chilling scream. Moments later, they said they saw something strange, a disheveled man, rough-looking, darting through the forest. He was trying to stay out of sight, and they claimed he was carrying something over his shoulder. Could this have been Dennis? Was it a kidnapping? If so, how did the man escape without anyone else ever seeing him again? The FBI took the report seriously, but no suspect was ever found, and the Green Berets, who had arrived early in the search, were said to be acting strangely. According to several accounts, they refused to coordinate with the park rangers and ran their own search separately. Why? What did they think they were looking for? Eventually, a possible clue was found. A child-sized footprint near a creek miles from the original campsite. But before it could be studied, it was trampled by searchers. Was that the last real trace of Dennis Martin? To this day, no body, no remains, no confirmed items belonging to Dennis have ever been found. His family never stopped looking, and his father continued hiking those mountains for years, hoping for closure that never came. So, what really happened? Was it an abduction? Did Dennis get lost and fall victim to the wilderness? Or is there something stranger in those woods, something we're not meant to understand? Ending engagement. Hook. How does a child vanish in front of his father? With no sound, no clue, and no trace, ever? Let me know what you think happened to Dennis Martin, because more than 50 years later, we still have no answers.
A 2-year-old boy vanishes from a campground in the Idaho wilderness. There were 4 adults nearby. No one heard anything. No one saw anything. Search teams scoured the area. Not one clue was ever found. This case is real, and it's one of the strangest disappearances in American history. It was July 2015. Jessica Mitchell and her fiance Vernal Kunz wanted to take their son Dior Jr. on a quick camping trip with family. They invited Jessica's elderly grandfather Bob and a friend of his named Isaac Reinwand. They chose a spot called Timber Creek Campground near Leadore, Idaho, remote, isolated. The kind of place where the only sounds are wind in the trees and the occasional snap of a twig. They arrived at the site on July 10th and set up camp. It was quiet, beautiful, peaceful. At some point that afternoon, Jessica and Verno decided to walk just a short distance up the trail, only about 100 yards, to check out the fishing spot. They left Dior with the grandfather, but when they came back, Dior was gone. At first, everyone thought maybe Dior had followed his parents down the path, but he hadn't. Then they thought maybe he wandered into the woods, but he was too, wearing cowboy boots. He couldn't have gone far. They searched, screamed, ran in every direction. Nothing. They called 911. That's when things got really strange. Within hours, over 200 people were on site. Local sheriffs, forest rangers, search and rescue, even helicopters and tracking dogs. They used drones, thermal imaging, night vision. They scoured every inch of that area, but there was no trace of Dior. Not even a sock, not a toy, not a footprint, nothing. The dogs didn't pick up a scent, which many searchers found bizarre, like Dior was never there. That's when suspicion turned to the adults. The sheriff later said all 4 people at that campsite gave different stories. Jessica and Verno took polygraphs. One passed, the other failed. Isa, the friend, was described as socially awkward and had a strange fascination with law enforcement. But no hard evidence ever surfaced. Some officers quietly began to wonder, did something happen to Dior before the police were ever called? Years went by. The FBI got involved. The case was reopened. But no remains, no clothing, no blood, no answers. Dior's parents broke up. Accusations were thrown. Lawsuits were filed. But the one person everyone wanted to find was never seen again. Dior Kunz Jr. would be 12 years old today. And the forest where he vanished, still open, still quiet, still hiding something. Some say it was an accident. Some say foul play. Others believe something more. Unnatural happened out there. Whatever it was, a 2-year-old boy walked into the Idaho wilderness and the world never saw him again. Now, this case is still unsolved. So what do you think happened to Dior Kunz Jr.? Drop your theory in the comments.
In 1991, a 12-year-old boy went missing on a Boy Scout hiking trip in the mountains of Southern California. His name was Jared Negrete, and the circumstances around his disappearance are still some of the most bizarre and haunting in missing person history, because what they eventually found didn't make sense. And what they found on his camera is something you'll never forget. Jared was a quiet, kind kid from El Monte, California. It was his very first overnight trip with the Boy Scouts, and he was excited. The destination was Mat San Gorgonio, the tallest peak in Southern California, standing over 11,500 feet high. Jared wasn't an experienced hiker, but like most 12-year-olds, he was determined to keep up and prove himself. On July 19, 1991, the group began their ascent. Somewhere along the trail, Jared started to lag behind the troop. The scout leader reportedly told Jared to wait at a spot off the main path until someone came back for him. It was a common protocol. Don't keep pushing forward if you're falling behind. Just stop, wait, and regroup. But when they returned to that spot, Jared was gone. Search and rescue were called in immediately. What followed was one of the largest search efforts in California's history. For 19 straight days, over 200 people, park rangers, helicopters, volunteers, bloodhounds, combed every inch of the area. The terrain was steep, rocky, and unforgiving, but they didn't stop. Then, they started finding clues. First, Jared's backpack, then snack wrappers and personal items, his camera, and eventually, both of his hiking boots, strangely placed side by side, neatly, as if someone had taken them off carefully and left them there. They were found more than 1,500 feet above where Jared was last seen. The route up there was brutally steep. Most adults would have struggled to make that climb, let alone a 12-year-old boy alone in the dark. But it's what they found on the camera that truly disturbed everyone. After developing the film, investigators found several blurry photos. Most were of trees, sky, ground, almost like the camera had been accidentally fired off. But the final image was a close-up of Jared's face. His expression was strange. He looked dazed. His cheeks were dirty, his eyes wide open, like he was confused or afraid. It was the last known photo of him, taken sometime after he went missing. But Jared was never found. Not his body, not his clothing, not a single human trace beyond that gear. And that eerie photo remains one of the creepiest unsolved clues in any missing person case. It left more questions than answers. Why did he take the photo? Why climb higher into dangerous terrain? Did he see something? Was someone or something with him? Some say he got lost and tragically fell, others believe foul play was involved. And there are even those who think something stranger happened on that mountain, something we can't explain. To this day, Jared Negrete's disappearance remains unsolved, and hikers still report an eerie feeling near the site where he vanished, like the mountain remembers, like it never gave him back. So what do you think happened to Jared? Did he fall? Was someone else up there? Or did the mountain take him? Drop your theory in the comments, because this case is still unsolved.